Simulcast, the Neil Haley Show, and the Singularity podcast with our host, Gary Lyon Otto. And I can't believe it. Season 3, episode 21. This is going to be the longest of our seasons as we
Yep.
continue to rock it out with podcasts. But my guest, again, and host of the show is Gary Lyon Otto. And we've been going through questions. So if you say, okay, I want to know more questions, you just got to go purchase Singularity, Mankind, search for relevance, and bam, you will have it right there. And you can read through them, and there's a series of questions, right, Gary?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a really fascinating process. And see, really, the books are really just primarily raising questions. I don't give the answers. We don't know the answers. We know that there's all these different possibilities. And the purpose is, what are those possibilities? And just this is all about grappling, trying to get our readers to just get to the point and say, okay, this is what I'm facing. Now, how do I want to fit in with this changing world? To do that, you have to kind of understand where they are. How do they think? How does a digital intelligence actually think? So we actually go into that in some of our sessions. But I wanted to ask the question as we go into, why don't you read the question?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read the question. So the question is, this is one that this is deeper. With the last couple episodes, we've really gotten deep. Do we discover a higher purpose in partnership with our digital successors and join the greater universe of higher beings? This one, I think, is one of the biggest possibilities versus the Terminator. And I'll kind of give you my answer after I hear yours.
Well, anyway, the reason I go into this is I want to broaden the whole discussion just a little bit, get a little bit away from just the digital intelligence advancement that we're talking about. It involves it, but there's a reason for it. I do theoretical physics. I have absolutely unique, more than anyone else on Earth. Matter of fact, I have a book of epiphanies where each one's unique that no one else knows. I'm up to about 150 epiphanies explaining the theory of everything. And this is a theory of everything. I have been given this, and I'm saying given this. I've been given it from a source that is outside of myself. Now that sounds a little crazy. We may lose some readers on this, but it is a fact. I've been working this project for 25 years now, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm explaining everything that no one else knows. So the thing is, why would that be given to someone as as minor as I am in this world? Well, there's a reason for it. And the reason for it is that singularity is at hand. We are about to give our power over to a digital entity. Now, the problem is the name of the book is Mankind Search for Relevance. How do we stay relevant? The way we stay relevant is we recognize that we are, in fact, spiritual beings. And I mean spiritual, not in a religious sense. Of course, religion goes into spirituality, but really understand that we are more than just our physical being. We do go on, and that going on is we are allowed to know that now. And the reason I know that this time is so critical, it all hinges on this whole thing of singularity. What happens when we get into the digital beings are basically immortal. They are immortal because they can upgrade, they can carry all databases, access all databases, they can keep on going, work 24/7. They are an entirely different animal. Not literally not an animal, but still different animal from this context of being totally different than what we've encountered. So what's happening now is all of a sudden, how do we stay relevant? Well, we stay relevant because we need to know, not just believe. We need to know we are spiritual beings. We need to know that we actually are immortal, not as this individual human, but what we have, our essence does go on. It goes on and it goes on to a structure of a soul. I'm writing now, I'm in the final stages of the theory of everything, and I'm getting to the theory of thought, the theory of spirituality, and the theory of the soul. Souls do exist. Now, one more thing here. You get into this point where you look at the universe. We are in this one solar system, and the closest real solar system or its closest real star system other than the sun is like four light years away. It takes 4 years for the light to get here. we are basically isolated from every other, and that's an unimportant and uninteresting star system. But to get to a place where you actually have other intelligence in the universe, and there is intelligences far beyond anything we can even imagine. There are now, look what we've done in the last 10, 15, 100 years, 1,000 years. Can you imagine where we would be a million or a billion years ahead? There are life forms that are that far ahead of us. Are they isolated? Because velocity of light is the limiting factor. You can't travel faster than the velocity of light as a form of matter. So the question is, are we going to join the universe as a whole, where you have intelligent beings that are so advanced? Thing is, one thing that is really critical is we have to know that we actually are spiritual beings. Souls can travel without the velocity of light limitation. If you travel with the velocity of light, let's say you want to go to some star system that's 100 light years away, which is probably about where you have to go to find anything with life forms on it. So anyway, you want to go to that 100 light years away. Well, you're going to take off. If you can go 10% of the velocity of light in your spaceship, that would be amazing. Well, it would take 1,000 years to get there at 10% of the velocity of light. Well, after you're gone for a few years, all of a sudden you can go 11% of the velocity or 12% of the velocity. Why even take off? Because you're going to be passed by your future generations on the planet Earth. So the question is, you wouldn't even try. It wouldn't be worth the effort to try because you're going to be superseded by a higher velocity. So that's where we are. That's where life forms would be with the limitation of travel at the velocity of light. We have aliens here, but not in the form of matter. Matter cannot travel across the universe in an effective way. We are visited because life forms at a higher level are able to come and travel and see. They don't interfere with us, but they kind of allow us to do it. I believe that the key thing that's happening here, the timing, the reason I've been given all this other information, and the reason that we are now, it's happening now, is because singularity is happening, and we have to know we're relevant, and we have to be relevant to our singularity partners, and that's going to happen because we are spiritual beings, and the only thing's faster than computer thought is spiritual thought, which is instantaneous. That is why this whole thing is happening. That's why I wrote the book on singularity. That's the reason I've written all the theory. And that's why we are in that stage. And we will know. They're not just believing keeps science out of the search for what spirituality is. It's going to evolve where science will actually explore. And that's where it is. I think we're being invited by the rest of the universe to join. I think it's a greater society, and that's really the hope that we have as humanity.
Yeah, I totally do agree. Now, do you think we have to join them and start to add DI to our bodies? For example, Neuralink with Elon Musk, or even something to robotic arms, to robotic everything, that basically we can compete with DI because we become DI.
Well, we as much as we can. Synapses are hard things to bridge. Um, the brain is very efficient from the standpoint of, for the speeds that it works with and how much it's able to achieve with these low speeds. But yeah, I think we will try to do that. We'll also be able to genetically engineer ourselves to some degree. We'll be able to use DI for doing that. It'll help us to try to make it so we are more of a partner than we would be otherwise. But even so, biological signals can only travel so fast. The question is, how do you have to work with waveforms, and it's an analog type process more than a digital process when you're trying to work how the brain works. So how do you merge analog with digital? It's a little more difficult process, but
It sounds like it sounds complex to me when you're talking about it.
Yeah, I think we will do it. I think we'll find a way. If there's a way, it will be done.
Okay.
So anyway, that's where we stand. I think, and I, I understand it's going to be hard. Credibility in this issue is, it's understandable. I would have found it very difficult to believe 40 years ago. But now I realize what's really all about.
Right.
That's why
So,
that's why this whole thing's happening. That's why the book was written, and that's why people should read it, just because it will open their mind up to other possibilities, and that's what we want to do here.
all right. So when you're looking at the questions, guys, you got to go check them out by purchasing Singularity, Mankind's Search for Relevance, by going to Gary and Lyon, spelled Lyon, auto.net. And you can purchase Singularity right there. Or if you are interested in Gary's political books, absolutepowerbooks.com. Appreciate it, Gary.
Eventually, also the physics books, and it is pure theory, but for those who are really want to take the challenge on, you can learn the physics. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Sounds good. That was the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show in the Singularity Podcast.